Thank you very, very much. Thank you so much. Debbie, thank you for your friendship, and thank you so much for introducing and presenting me here this evening. Let me thank Manny for issuing the invitation that I join you on this evening. I want to thank him for the tremendous leadership he's given to the Florida Democrats that we all over the country are beginning to notice. Now, you've been here for quite a while. You've heard my whole speech several times over, so that's why I left it at the table. But there is something I want to say to you. And it's probably summed up in a little introduction to a pamphlet that was written by a man named Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine observed our nation trying to give birth to itself. And as you can imagine, people were not all on one accord. And as Thomas Paine observed, he sat down to write that which he was witnessing. And he wrote these words: "These are the times that try men's soldiers. Summer soldiers and sunshine patriots will, in the crisis, shrink from the service of their country, but he that stands it now deserves the love and thanks of men and women, for tyranny like hell is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph." I know, because I've heard it here in many of the speeches tonight. We recognize that we have before us a pretty hard conflict. People in many parts of the country are giving up on this country. There are those who are doubting whether or not democracy here as well as abroad can prevail. A lot of people feel that our country is not just at the crossroads, but this great country of ours is at peril. But let me tell you something. I, as Debbie, Val, Darren, Chris will tell you, every time I go to a caucus meeting, I tend to let history be my guide. And I was sitting here tonight listening to the speeches and thinking a little bit about history, and I thought about what turned me on to politics. I'm old enough to remember, though I was a very young child, I remember the presidential election of 1948, when Harry Truman was told by everybody that he had absolutely no chance to win the presidency of the United States. He had become president by accident, the death of Franklin Roosevelt. In fact, the media were so convinced that he was going to lose, they didn't wait on the results. The Chicago newspaper ran the headline, "Dewey wins." But when the votes were counted, Harry Truman was elected president of the United States. I remember that. I also remember 1992. And all of you are old enough to remember 1992. Everybody said that it was impossible to beat George H.W. Bush. At one point, he was 94% in the polls. And people on the Democratic side decided it's no need to run. But then a young governor from a small state of Arkansas, Bill Clinton, stepped up to run, and nobody gave him any chance. History has revealed that Bill Clinton defied those odds. And I remember last year, nobody thought the Democrats could win the Senate. People thought that we would lose the House. People thought that we had no chance of winning the presidency. We kept the House. We won the Senate. And we won the presidency. Why? Because we did not listen to the pundits. We believed in ourselves. Nobody, I don't know of a single soul who ever would have placed one red cent on the fact that Georgia would elect 2 Democrats, 1 black, 1 Jewish, and send them to the United States Senate. And not only that, but that's what gave us the Senate. Everybody this year are reflecting upon 2 states, New Jersey and Virginia, 2 states that yield mixed results. Next year, everybody in this country will be looking at 2 states, Georgia and Florida, to see what direction we will go in 24. You here in Georgia, you have here in Florida and Georgia, you have the chance. Just think about it. Warnock has to hold his seat. Stacey Abrams has got to win hers. We've got to elect a Democratic senator here in Florida. We got to elect a Democratic governor here in Florida. And if we do that, if Georgia and Florida comes through next year, we will have a banner year in 2024. We're dependent on you, Florida. You know, I often read Alexis de Tocqueville. When I was a student, I got carried away with de Tocqueville's writings. And a lot of you may remember the story about de Tocqueville coming to this country way back in the 1830s from France. He came here really to study our penal system. And de Tocqueville said he saw something magical about this country. And he set out to try to find out what that magic was. It is said that he went into the legislative chambers looking for the magic of this country. He went on to the campuses of our colleges and our universities looking for the magic of the country. He went into our various institutions, and it is written. Now, the reason I say it is written because I study history pretty closely. And there are some historians who argue that this really happened. I don't know, I wasn't there. But it is written that de Tocqueville said that it was not until he went into our places of worship that he found out the true magic of this country, and that he came to the conclusion that America is great because its people are good. And if the people of America ever cease to be good, America will cease to be great. That is what is at stake in this country today. We have an administration immediately passed that gave up on the goodness of this great country. We have legislators sitting in Washington today who have given up on the goodness of this country. We Democrats have it as our responsibility to maintain America's goodness. We can win elections without being what the other side is all about. We can maintain our goodness and still win elections. That's what we've got to do. We cannot become them. We have an opportunity to save this great democracy. The other side has become a cult. They aren't a party anymore. They are following one misguided leader. And this country is crying out for somebody, some party to provide leadership. And that's the Democratic Party. But we cannot do that by mimicking them. We got to do that by leading not just by precept, but by example. We must be an example of what we want our children to be, an example of what we want voters to vote for. And that is what I come to say to you this evening. Now, I had a lot of stuff well researched. Now, David, I don't want you to go back and tell my staff that I didn't use their speech, that they spend so much time pulling together. But you know, one of the things I learned in the Congress is if you can't improve upon something that's been said before, and I want to say that Glenn, I can't improve on what you had to say. I can't improve on what Maria had to say. So I'll just move to associate myself with those remarks and go ahead and say what I want to say. Now, and there is something I really want to say as I conclude my remarks. We've been hearing a lot of foolishness from the other side. I went to New Jersey 2 weeks before that election. I was in Virginia the weekend before that election. And I heard all of this stuff about critical race theory. You know, I used to teach school. I taught history. I taught facts. You don't teach high school students theory. You teach facts. And we cannot allow these misguided people to chart our course for us. You know, when I look at these, like, it's a fact. As I said to some students the other day, it's a fact that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. But it's also a fact that he couldn't get it to work right. It's a fact that Thomas Edison was advised that if you want to get this light bulb to work right, you're going to need to get outside of your comfort zone. You need to go up there to Massachusetts, where a gentleman named Lewis Latimer, the son of slaves, Lewis Latimer, a black guy, had invented something called a filament. And Thomas Edison was told that if you take your light bulb and you go up to Massachusetts and sit down with Lewis Latimer, who has this filament, and you can put that light bulb, that filament in your light bulb, you might make this thing work. And that's what he did. Lewis Latimer's filament, when placed into Thomas Edison's light bulb, lit the world. Both of them got outside of their comfort zones. And that's what we've got to do as Democrats. I know what it is to be black. I'm very comfortable when I go to the Congressional Black Caucus lunches on Wednesday. But when I come out of that lunch on Wednesday, I want to sit down with the Blue Dogs. I want to sit down with the progressives, with the New Dems, with the Asian Pacific Islanders, with the Hispanic caucus. I want to sit down with these people who make up this great country of ours, who make up this great party of ours, and for us to sit down and work together to do what is right for the American people. That's what Democrats are all about. We aren't excluding anybody. We want to bring everybody to the process. And that's what the people are looking for. We have started this country back in the right direction. I call these three big programs the three-legged stool that bring balance to the lives of the American people. The American Rescue Act did that. It rescued families. It moved over half of our children who were living in poverty, moved them out of poverty. It put income in the families' wallets. It put shots in people's arms. It's got this country back on track. And we got to the second leg of the stool with our infrastructure bill, a bill that we were told would never pass. I know what the media were saying. Every day they were stopping me. How you gonna get the votes? When you gonna get the votes? I just told them to stay tuned. Now, we passed that Rescue Act without a single Republican vote. We can't just tell the American people what we have done for them. We got to let them know not only that we did it, let them know that the other side did not do it. That's what we've got to do. When we passed that infrastructure bill, We only had 19 Republicans in the Senate to vote for it and 13 Republicans in the House to vote for it. But we passed it because the American people need it. And we are going to pass Build Back Better. We've passed it. We passed it out of the House, and I think we got one Republican vote. And we're going to pass it in the Senate, probably by one vote. But the American people are looking to us, and we've got to deliver for them. Let's be Democrats. Let's be what we know we can be. Let's think about the history of this party. Think about Truman in 1948 when he did not give up on the party. You remember him getting on the back of that train, going all over the country and saying to the people, we've got a do-nothing Congress, and I'm going to get this thing done for it. Let's go out here and engage with the American people. Tell them what you're going to do for them. And by God, let's do it. But then you got to go back to them and tell them that you've done it over and over and over again. And so I want to thank you for what you're doing. I love to come down here for this event. Hopefully we can come next year when you all will be more lively. And the Jack Daniels will flow more freely. The music will be a little louder. And we will be rejoicing in a great Democratic victory with a new United States Senator who happens to be a Democrat, with a new governor who happens to be a Democrat, and get this country rolling again. Good luck and Godspeed.